Maya Chen sat in the back corner of advanced xenobiology class, her dark eyes fixed on the holographic display showing alien anatomy. While her classmates raised their hands eagerly to answer Professor Kane's questions, Maya remained silent. She had learned long ago that speaking up only drew unwanted attention. "Miss Chen," Professor Kane's voice cut through the classroom chatter, "perhaps you could enlighten us about the respiratory system of the Zephyrian species." Maya's fingers tightened around her stylus. She knew the answer perfectly. The Zephyrians breathed through specialized gill slits that could process both atmospheric gases and liquid environments. Their dual-chambered lungs allowed them to survive in space for short periods. But instead of speaking, she simply shook her head and looked down at her tablet. "Typical," whispered Jake Morrison from 2 seats ahead. "The scholarship kid doesn't know anything." Several students snickered. Maya's jaw clenched, but she remained quiet. Let them think what they wanted. At 17, she had already learned that words were often wasted on people who refused to listen. The Terran Military Academy was supposed to be humanity's most prestigious institution, training the next generation of space officers and diplomats. Maya had earned her place through exceptional test scores, not family connections like most of her classmates. Her silence wasn't born from ignorance, it was armor. After class, Maya walked alone through the Academy's gleaming corridors. Massive windows showed the Earth spinning slowly below the orbital station. Other students clustered in groups, discussing weekend plans and upcoming social events. Maya had never been invited to any of them. She made her way to the Combat Simulation Center, the one place where she felt truly at home. The facility was mostly empty at this hour, which suited her perfectly. Maya preferred training when others weren't around to witness her skills. "Running solo drills again, Chen?" Captain Torres emerged from the observation deck. The grizzled instructor had been watching Maya's progress for months. Unlike the academic professors, Torres seemed to understand that silence didn't equal incompetence. Maya nodded and headed toward the simulation pods. She selected a random combat scenario, a hostage rescue mission on a mining station. The pod sealed around her as the virtual environment materialized. Suddenly, Maya was standing on the bridge of a damaged space freighter. Warning lights flashed red as artificial gravity fluctuated. According to the mission parameters, pirates had taken control of the vessel and were holding the crew hostage in the cargo bay. Maya moved through the ship's corridors with fluid precision. She had memorized the standard layouts of dozens of vessel types. Her footsteps were silent as she approached the first checkpoint. 2 armed pirates stood guard near the engine room. Instead of rushing in with weapons blazing like most cadets would, Maya analyzed the situation. She noticed the environmental controls were damaged, causing atmosphere leaks in specific sections. With careful manipulation of the ship's systems, she could create a distraction. Maya accessed a wall terminal and triggered a false hull breach alarm in the opposite section of the ship. The pirates immediately abandoned their posts to investigate, leaving their position undefended. She slipped past them without firing a single shot. The cargo bay presented a more complex challenge. 12 hostages were secured in the center of the room, while 6 pirates maintained defensive positions around the perimeter. Any direct assault would likely result in civilian casualties. Maya studied the cargo bay's layout through security feeds. Large shipping containers were stacked throughout the space, creating natural cover and blind spots. The artificial gravity generator was also located in this section, accessible through maintenance shafts. She made her way to the shaft entrance and crawled through the narrow passages until she reached the gravity controls. With precise timing, Maya began manipulating the gravitational fields in specific sections of the cargo bay. The pirates suddenly found themselves floating helplessly as gravity disappeared beneath their feet. While they struggled to orient themselves in 0G, Maya dropped down from the ceiling and systematically disabled each one with non-lethal force. The entire operation took less than 4 minutes. "Simulation complete," the computer announced. "Mission objectives achieved with 0 casualties. Time 3 minutes 47 seconds. New Academy record." Maya emerged from the pod to find Captain Torres waiting with a slight smile on his weathered face. "Impressive work, Chen. Most cadets would have gone in shooting and lost half the hostages." She simply nodded and began walking toward the exit. "You know," Torres called after her, "staying silent might work in the classroom, but real combat requires communication. A leader who can't give orders will get their team killed." Maya paused at the doorway but didn't turn around. She had heard similar lectures before. Everyone assumed her silence meant she couldn't lead. They were wrong, but she saw no point in explaining herself. That evening in her dormitory room, Maya received a message on her personal tablet. The sender was listed as Admiral Harrison, Fleet Command. Her heart rate increased as she opened the communication. Cadet Chen, your simulation scores have caught our attention. Report to Briefing Room 7 tomorrow at 800 hours. This matter is classified. Tell no one. Maya stared at the message for several minutes before deleting it. Fleet Command didn't typically contact individual cadets, especially not first-year students. Something significant was happening. She spent the night researching Admiral Harrison. Rebecca Harrison was a decorated veteran who had led successful campaigns against both Zephyrian raiders and the mysterious signals from the Outer Rim. If she was personally requesting a meeting, the situation must be serious. The next morning, Maya arrived at Briefing Room 7 precisely at 800. The room was smaller than she expected, with a single conference table surrounded by chairs. Admiral Harrison sat at the head of the table, her silver hair pulled back in a regulation style. Two other officers flanked her, a tall man with commander's stripes and a woman wearing intelligence insignia. Sit down, Cadet Chen. Admiral Harrison gestured to the chair across from her. We need to discuss your future. Maya took the indicated seat and waited. Her hands remained steady despite the questions racing through her mind. Your combat simulation scores are unprecedented, the Admiral continued. More importantly, your tactical thinking shows remarkable innovation. We have a proposition for you. The intelligence officer leaned forward. What we're about to tell you is classified at the highest levels. 3 days ago, we lost contact with deep space, Research Station Omega. The facility was studying alien artifacts recovered from the Outer Rim. Admiral Harrison activated a holographic display showing a remote space station. Standard protocol would be to send a full military response team. However, we believe a smaller, more subtle approach might be necessary. The station's last transmission mentioned discovering something that changes everything about human potential. Maya listened intently as the officers explained the situation. The research station had been investigating technology far beyond current human understanding. The loss of communication suggested either a catastrophic system failure or something far more dangerous. We're assembling a small reconnaissance team, Admiral Harrison concluded. Your simulation results suggest you might be exactly what we need for this mission. Are you interested in real combat, Cadet Chen? For the first time in months, Maya spoke. Her voice was quiet but steady. Yes, ma'am. Maya found herself aboard the stealth frigate Shadowhawk just 18 hours later. The ship was unlike anything she had studied in her academy courses. Its hull absorbed sensor readings while advanced dampening systems made it nearly invisible to most detection methods. The crew consisted of only 5 people. Captain Elena Vasquez commanded the vessel with quiet efficiency. Lieutenant Commander Sam Ridge handled tactical operations, while Chief Engineer Park maintained the ship's experimental systems. The 5th member was Dr. Sarah Webb, a xenoarchaeologist who specialized in alien artifacts. Maya was designated as reconnaissance specialist, though she suspected her real purpose remained unclear. Admiral Harrison had provided minimal briefing materials, stating only that the mission required unconventional thinking and adaptability. Cadet Chen, report to the briefing room. Captain Vasquez's voice echoed through the ship's communication system. Maya made her way through the compact corridors to find the entire team assembled around a holographic map. Dr. Webb was highlighting specific sections of deep space. Research Station Omega. The station has been dark for 72 hours, Dr. Webb explained. No distress signals, no automated systems responses, nothing. The facility was studying artifacts recovered from what we call the Ghost Fleet. The hologram shifted to show twisted metal structures drifting in deep space. The ships were clearly not human in origin, their designs following geometric patterns that seemed to hurt the eyes when viewed directly. These vessels were discovered 6 months ago in the Kepler 442 system. Dr. Webb continued. They appear to be incredibly ancient, possibly millions of years old. The technology inside them defies our understanding of physics. Lieutenant Commander Ridge took over the briefing. Our mission is simple in theory. Approach the station undetected. Determine what happened to the research team and secure any critical data or artifacts. The problem is that we have no idea what we're walking into. Captain Vasquez looked directly at Maya. Your simulation scores suggest you excel at adapting to unknown situations. That skill might be crucial here. Maya nodded but remained silent. She had reviewed the available data during the journey and noticed several concerning patterns. The research station's last communications had mentioned breakthrough discoveries, but the timestamp showed increasingly erratic behavior from the research team. Dr. Webb, Maya spoke quietly. The research logs mentioned changes in personnel behavior. Were there any psychological evaluations conducted? Dr. Webb seemed surprised by the question. Actually, yes. The station's medical officer noted increased aggression and paranoia among the research staff. We assumed it was stress from working with unknown technology. What if it wasn't stress? Maya asked. What if the artifacts were affecting them directly? The briefing room fell silent as everyone considered the implications. If alien technology could influence human minds, the mission had just become significantly more dangerous. Captain Vasquez made the decision to proceed with extreme caution. The Shadowhawk would approach the station using passive sensors only, avoiding any active scanning that might trigger defensive systems or alert whatever might be waiting for them. Maya spent the remaining journey time studying everything available about the Ghost Fleet artifacts. The ship showed signs of advanced nanotechnology and energy systems that seemed to operate on quantum principles. Most disturbing were the crew compartments, which appeared designed for beings that were humanoid but not quite human. Approaching the station now, Chief Engineer Park announced from the bridge. All systems show normal operations, but there's no response to our hails. Through the viewports, Deep Space Research Station Omega appeared completely normal. The facility was a standard modular design, with rotating habitat sections and fixed laboratory modules. Exterior lights were functioning and the docking bays showed no signs of damage. Too quiet, Lieutenant Commander Ridge muttered. If they had evacuated, there would be some kind of automated distress beacon. Maya studied the station's external features through binoculars. Something was wrong with the lighting patterns. Captain, look at the observation windows in Section C. The lights are flickering in a pattern. Captain Vasquez examined the area Maya indicated. She was right. The lights were pulsing in a steady rhythm that didn't match any standard emergency protocol. Could be a signal, Dr. Webb suggested. Someone might be trying to communicate. Or something is trying to lure us in, Ridge countered. Maya continued watching the light pattern. After several minutes, she noticed it was repeating every 47 seconds. The sequence contained 23 distinct pulses of varying duration. It's not random, she announced. The pattern has mathematical structure. Dr. Webb quickly ran the sequence through the ship's computers. She's right. It matches prime number sequences, but there's something else embedded in the timing. The analysis revealed that the light pattern contained coordinates pointing to a specific docking bay on the station's lower level. Someone or something was directing them to a particular entry point. Could be a trap, Ridge warned. Everything about this mission could be a trap, Captain Vasquez replied. But we have orders to investigate. We'll dock at the designated bay, but we go in prepared for anything. The team spent an hour preparing for boarding operations. Maya was issued standard combat armor and weapons, though she hoped neither would be necessary. The armor felt heavy and restrictive compared to the simulation equipment she was used to. As the Shadowhawk approached the docking bay, Maya noticed something that made her stomach tighten. The airlock mechanism was opening and closing rhythmically, matching the light pattern they had observed. Whatever was controlling the signals was also controlling the station's systems. Docking successful, Chief Engineer Park reported. Atmosphere in the connecting tunnel reads normal. No immediate threats detected. Captain Vasquez led the boarding party with Ridge and Maya following close behind. Dr. Webb remained on the ship to monitor their progress and maintain communication. The plan was simple: secure the immediate area, then proceed to the station's central computer core to download critical data. The moment they stepped through the airlock, Maya knew something was fundamentally wrong. The corridor looked normal, but the air felt thick and slightly warm. More concerning was the complete absence of sound. Space stations always had background noise from life support systems and machinery, but this facility was absolutely silent. Motion sensors aren't picking up anything, Ridge whispered into his communicator. No life signs in the immediate area. They moved through the station's corridors in tactical formation. Maya noticed that all the computer terminals were active, displaying what appeared to be research data. But when she tried to access one of the systems, the screen immediately went dark. "The computers are responding to our presence," she reported quietly. "Something is watching us." Captain Vasquez held up her hand, signaling the team to stop. Ahead of them, the corridor ended at a heavy security door marked Artifact Storage, Level 5 clearance required. The door was standing wide open, though emergency protocols should have kept it sealed. "This is where they were studying the Ghost Fleet technology," Dr. Webb's voice crackled through their communicators. "Be extremely careful. Some of those artifacts were showing unknown energy signatures." Maya peered into the storage chamber. The room was large and circular, with numerous containment units arranged around the perimeter. Most of the units were empty, their transparent barriers deactivated. In the center of the room stood a single pedestal, holding what appeared to be a crystalline structure about the size of a human head. The crystal was beautiful and terrifying at the same time. It seemed to contain swirling patterns of light that moved hypnotically through its structure. Maya found herself taking a step toward it before Captain Vasquez grabbed her arm. "Don't," the captain warned. "We don't know what that thing does," but Maya was already beginning to understand. The pattern of lights in the crystal matched the signals they had observed from outside the station. The artifact wasn't just displaying patterns, it was communicating. "Captain," Maya said slowly, "I think the research team found something that was trying to talk to them, and I think it succeeded." Maya stared at the crystalline artifact as understanding flooded through her mind. The swirling patterns weren't random. They were a language, a form of communication that bypassed spoken words entirely. The crystal was trying to establish contact, and the research team had somehow responded. "Chen, step away from that thing," Captain Vasquez ordered, but Maya barely heard her. The patterns in the crystal were becoming clearer, more defined. She could almost grasp their meaning. "It's not dangerous," Maya whispered. "It's trying to warn us." Lieutenant Commander Ridge moved to physically pull Maya away from the artifact, but she held up her hand to stop him. "Wait, I can understand it. The patterns, they're showing me what happened to the research team." The crystal's light intensified, and suddenly Maya's mind was filled with images. She saw Dr. Meridian, the station's chief researcher, first making contact with the artifact 3 days ago. The initial interaction had been cautious, with the crystal responding to simple mathematical inputs. But as the communication continued, something unexpected happened. The artifact began downloading information directly into Dr. Meridian's mind, not controlling or corrupting him, but sharing knowledge about the Ghost Fleet and why their ships had been drifting in space for millennia. "They were refugees," Maya said aloud, her voice distant as the visions continued. "The beings who built these ships were fleeing something. They seeded these artifacts throughout space as warnings." Captain Vasquez exchanged concerned glances with Ridge. "Chen, you need to break contact with that thing right now." But Maya was deep in the crystal's communication stream. She saw the truth about the Ghost Fleet. Ancient vessels carrying the last survivors of a species that had discovered something terrible in the depths of space. They had tried to warn other civilizations, but few had understood their message in time. "The research team is still alive," Maya announced. "They're in the deep storage bay, but they've been changed. The artifact shared its knowledge with them, and now they understand what's coming." The crystal's patterns shifted, showing Maya images of vast shapes moving through the void between galaxies. The things were enormous, larger than planets, and they consumed everything in their path. They had destroyed the civilization that built the Ghost Fleet, and now they were heading toward this galaxy. "We have to get to the deep storage bay," Maya said urgently. Dr. Meridian and his team discovered something crucial. They know how to fight these things. Captain Vasquez was about to refuse when her communicator crackled with an incoming message. "Captain, this is Dr. Webb. I'm picking up massive energy signatures approaching from deep space. Multiple contacts moving at impossible speeds. How long until they reach us?" Vasquez asked. "At their current velocity, approximately 6 hours. Captain, these things are huge. My sensors can barely register their full size." Maya felt the crystal's communication becoming more urgent. The warnings it carried weren't about some distant future threat. The Devourers were already here, drawn by humanity's expanding presence in space. The research team tried to send a warning to Earth, Maya explained as the visions continued, but the communication systems couldn't handle the information they needed to transmit. "They've been working on a solution," Captain Vasquez made a command decision. Ridge, you stay here with the artifact. Chen, you're with me. We're going to find this research team. Maya reluctantly broke contact with the crystal, feeling like she was losing an important connection. But the urgency of the situation was clear. The approaching entities would reach human space within hours, and Earth's military forces had no idea what they were facing. The deep storage bay was located 3 levels down from their current position. As they descended through the station's corridors, Maya noticed subtle changes in the environment. The walls seemed slightly different, more organic in appearance. The lighting had taken on a softer, more natural quality. The station's systems are adapting, Maya observed. The research team has been integrating alien technology with human systems. They reached the deep storage bay to find the entrance sealed by what appeared to be a combination of metal plating and crystalline growths. The barrier looked organic, as if it had grown rather than been built. Dr. Meridian, Captain Vasquez called out. This is Captain Vasquez from Fleet Command. We're here to assist you. The crystalline barrier began to shift and flow, creating an opening just large enough for them to pass through. Maya felt a slight tingling sensation as she moved through the passage, as if the barrier was scanning her somehow. Inside the bay, they found the research team. 8 scientists were arranged in a circle around a massive crystalline structure that pulsed with soft light. Their eyes were closed, but Maya could see they were alive and breathing normally. Dr. Meridian opened his eyes as they approached. His appearance was unchanged, but there was something different about his expression, a depth of understanding that hadn't been there before. Captain Vasquez, he said calmly. You arrived sooner than we expected. The Devourers are already entering the outer system. Doctor, what's happened here? Your team has been missing for 3 days. Dr. Meridian gestured to the large crystal formation. We've been learning. The artifact upstairs was just a communication node. This is the real archive. Millions of years of knowledge about the entities approaching our system. Maya studied the massive crystal. Unlike the smaller one upstairs, this structure seemed to contain layers upon layers of information. She could sense vast databases of tactical knowledge, technological specifications, and historical records of battles against the Devourers. The beings who built the Ghost Fleet spent centuries fighting these entities, Dr. Meridian continued. They developed weapons and strategies that could work, but they lacked one crucial element, human adaptability. Captain Vasquez frowned. What do you mean? The Devourers learn from every species they encounter. They adapt their tactics and defenses based on their opponent's capabilities. Most species follow predictable patterns, making them easy to counter. But humans think differently. Maya understood immediately. Human unpredictability is an advantage. We don't follow standard tactical doctrines because we're constantly innovating. Exactly, Dr. Meridian smiled. The archive contains detailed information about the Devourer's weaknesses. But exploiting those weaknesses requires the kind of creative thinking that humans excel at. The other research team members began opening their eyes, each one showing the same expression of profound understanding. They had spent 3 days absorbing millions of years of accumulated knowledge about humanity's greatest threat. We've developed a plan, Dr. Meridian announced, but it requires precise coordination between the archive's knowledge and human tactical innovation. We need someone who can interface with the system while maintaining independent thought. Captain Vasquez looked at Maya. You think Cadet Chen is that person? Her performance with the communication node suggests she has the necessary capabilities, Dr. Meridian replied. But the choice must be hers. The interface process will fundamentally change how she processes information. Maya stared at the massive crystal formation. She could feel it calling to her, offering knowledge that could save humanity. But she also understood that accepting that knowledge would change her forever. What exactly are you asking me to do? She asked. Become a bridge between human creativity and alien knowledge, Dr. Meridian replied. The archive contains detailed tactical information about the Devourers, but that information needs to be interpreted through human strategic thinking. You would become humanity's first true hybrid commander. Captain Vasquez's communicator crackled again. Captain, the entities have accelerated. They'll reach the inner system in 4 hours. I'm also detecting massive electromagnetic pulses. They're jamming all communication with Earth. Maya realized the weight of the decision before her. Humanity was about to face its greatest threat, and the knowledge to defeat that threat was within reach. But gaining that knowledge would mean accepting a fundamental change to her very nature. She thought about her silent years at the academy, always holding back, always staying in the background. Perhaps this was why she had always felt different. She had been preparing for this moment without knowing it. "I'll do it," Maya said firmly. "Tell me what I need to know." Maya approached the massive crystal formation with steady steps, though her heart pounded against her ribs. Dr. Meridian guided her to a depression in the crystalline structure that seemed perfectly shaped for a human form. "The interface process will take approximately 30 minutes, Dr. Meridian explained. "During that time, the archive will download tactical databases spanning millions of years. Your mind will need to process and integrate this information while maintaining your essential human perspective." Captain Vasquez grabbed Maya's arm gently. "Chen, you don't have to do this. We can find another way." Maya looked at her captain, then at the research team who had already undergone the transformation. Their eyes held depths of knowledge that was both fascinating and slightly unsettling. "With respect, Captain, I don't think we have time to find another way." She settled into the crystalline depression, immediately feeling a warm, tingling sensation as the structure began to conform to her body. The crystal felt alive, responsive to her presence in ways that seemed impossible. "Remember," Dr. Meridian said as the interface activated, "maintain your human instincts. The archive will try to impose logical patterns on everything, but human unpredictability is our greatest weapon." Against the devourers, the world exploded into light and information. Maya's consciousness was suddenly flooded with data streams containing the tactical knowledge of dozens of extinct civilizations. She saw battles fought across countless star systems, each one following similar patterns of initial resistance, followed by systematic destruction. The devourers were unlike anything in human imagination. They weren't ships or creatures in any conventional sense. They were living constructs of dark matter and quantum energy, capable of reshaping reality itself on a local scale. They consumed not just matter and energy, but information and consciousness as well. Through the archive's vast memory banks, Maya witnessed the systematic destruction of the Helios Confederation, a spacefaring civilization that had controlled 3,000 star systems. The devourers had approached slowly, studying their targets for decades before striking with overwhelming force. But Maya also saw something the archive seemed to have missed: subtle variations in each civilization's final battles. The species that lasted longest against the devourers were those that had made unexpected tactical decisions, abandoning logical strategies in favor of seemingly irrational approaches. "Interesting," Maya whispered as patterns became clear. "They're not invincible. They're just very good at predicting conventional responses." The archive began feeding her detailed technical specifications about the devourers' capabilities. They could manipulate gravitational fields, phase shift through solid matter, and project destructive energy beams across vast distances. Their sensing capabilities extended across multiple dimensions, making stealth nearly impossible. Most terrifying was their ability to learn and adapt. Each devourer shared its experiences with the entire collective, meaning that any successful tactic used against one would be countered when facing another. But that's also their weakness, Maya realized aloud. Their collective learning makes them predictable in their own way. They expect patterns even when adapting to new threats. Through the interface, Maya felt Dr. Meridian's presence. "What do you see that we missed?" "Human chaos," Maya replied, her consciousness now spanning both the archive's vast knowledge and her own intuitive understanding. Every other species the devourers faced developed their tactics through logical progression. But humans don't always do what makes sense. She began pulling specific data from the archive: weapons technologies, energy manipulation techniques, and defensive strategies that had shown partial success against the devourers. But instead of following the conventional implementations, Maya started visualizing how humans might adapt and modify these approaches. "Captain," Maya called out, her voice carrying a new quality of authority, "I need you to contact the Shadowhawk. We're going to need to make some modifications to the ship's systems." "What kind of modifications?" Captain Vasquez asked. Maya's mind was now processing information at superhuman speeds while maintaining her essential human creativity. She could see tactical possibilities that the archive's previous users had never considered. We're going to turn the Shadowhawk into something the Devourers have never encountered before, a ship that doesn't follow any logical tactical doctrine. Through the crystal interface, Maya began downloading specific technical knowledge to the research team. They would need to work quickly to implement the modifications she was designing. Dr. Webb, Maya's voice carried across the communication link to the ship. I'm transmitting schematics for quantum field modulators. Can Chief Engineer Park fabricate them within 2 hours? The specifications you're sending are unlike anything in our databases, Dr. Webb replied. Are you sure these will work? They'll work because they shouldn't work, Maya answered. The Devourer's predictive capabilities are based on logical engineering approaches. These modifications violate several principles of conventional design. Captain Vasquez studied the schematics appearing on the bay's display screens. The modifications Maya was proposing seemed almost random. Energy systems that operated in deliberately inefficient patterns, navigation systems that incorporated random elements, and weapons that could shift between multiple incompatible firing modes. Chen, this looks like controlled chaos, the captain observed. Exactly, Maya smiled, her consciousness still interfaced with the ancient archive. The Devourers have faced millions of species over eons of time. Every one of them followed logical, tactical, and engineering principles. We're going to be the first species they encounter that deliberately embraces tactical irrationality. The archive was showing Maya detailed battle recordings from the Devourers' recent encounters. In every case, they had anticipated their opponent's moves within the first few minutes of engagement. Ships that maneuvered according to optimal efficiency, weapons that fired in calculated patterns, and defensive strategies based on mathematical principles. But what if we don't optimize for efficiency? Maya asked the archive directly. What if we design systems that deliberately waste energy, maneuver in mathematically incorrect patterns, and fire weapons at seemingly random intervals? The archive's response was confusion. Its vast databases contained no precedent for such approaches because no logical species would intentionally handicap themselves in combat. That's the point, Maya laughed. Humans are the only species crazy enough to deliberately fight inefficiently, if it gives us a tactical advantage. Through the interface, Maya began coordinating modifications not just to the Shadowhawk, but to the research station itself. The facility's systems would be converted into a mobile command center capable of coordinating chaotic tactical operations across multiple vessels. Dr. Meridian, Maya said, I need your team to prepare for full integration with the station systems. We're going to turn this entire facility into a weapon the Devourers won't expect. What about the approaching entities? Captain Vasquez asked. My last report showed them entering the inner system. Maya consulted the archive's sensor data, now enhanced by her human intuition. They're approaching cautiously, studying the system's defenses. They expect us to respond with conventional tactics, evacuate civilian populations, mass our fleet forces, establish defensive perimeters. That's exactly what Fleet Command will do, Captain Vasquez pointed out. Which is why we're not going to tell Fleet Command what we're really planning, Maya replied. The Devourers can detect and analyze communications. If our own forces know what we're actually going to do, the Devourers will figure it out too. Maya was now seeing possibilities that merged the archive's ancient knowledge with uniquely human tactical thinking. The research station would become a mobile command platform, coordinating attacks that appeared random, but were actually carefully orchestrated chaos. We're going to fight the most advanced threat in galactic history, Maya announced, by being completely unpredictable. The interface process was nearly complete. Maya could feel the vast weight of the archive's knowledge settling into her mind, while her human consciousness remained intact and dominant. She was becoming something new, a hybrid commander capable of thinking both logically and irrationally at the same time. Captain, Maya said as the crystal interface began to disengage, we have 3 hours to prepare for the most unconventional battle in human history. Are you ready to command a ship that doesn't make sense? Captain Vasquez grinned. Chen, I've been waiting my whole career for a mission this crazy. Maya emerged from the crystal interface fundamentally changed. Her eyes now held the depth of ancient knowledge combined with sharp human intelligence. When she spoke, her voice carried an authority that made even Captain Vasquez instinctively listen. We have 2 hours and 17 minutes before the Devourers reach effective combat range, Maya announced. accessing both the archive sensors and her enhanced tactical awareness. Chief Engineer Park, what's the status on those modifications? Dr. Webb's voice crackled through the communication system. The quantum field modulators are installed, but Maya, these systems are behaving exactly as irrationally as you designed them. Our power output is fluctuating wildly, and the navigation computer keeps trying to correct what it thinks are errors. Perfect, Maya smiled. The more our own systems confuse us, the more they'll confuse the Devourers. Captain, we need to move the Shadowhawk to coordinates I'm transmitting now. The coordinates Maya provided made no tactical sense. She was positioning them directly between the approaching Devourers and the research station, in what appeared to be the worst possible strategic location. Chen, that position leaves us completely exposed, Lieutenant Commander Ridge protested. Exactly, Maya replied. The Devourers expect prey to seek cover or advantageous positions. By deliberately placing ourselves in a vulnerable location, we'll force them to recalculate their approach. Through her enhanced connection to the research station systems, Maya began implementing changes that transformed the facility into something unprecedented. The station's modular sections were being reconfigured into asymmetrical patterns that violated basic engineering principles while somehow maintaining structural integrity. Dr. Meridian, Maya called to the research team leader. I need you and your team to take control of the station's mobile systems. We're going to use this facility as our primary tactical platform. Dr. Meridian's eyes showed the same deep understanding that Maya now possessed. The station's conventional thrusters have been replaced with the quantum drive systems we reverse engineered from the Ghost Fleet technology. We can maneuver like a ship, but our mass makes us highly unstable. That instability is a feature, not a bug, Maya explained. Unstable movement patterns are unpredictable movement patterns. Maya's consciousness was now operating on multiple levels simultaneously. Part of her mind processed the archive's vast tactical databases, while another part maintained her uniquely human intuition. The combination allowed her to see strategic possibilities that no purely logical intelligence could conceive. Contact approaching, Dr. Webb reported from the Shadowhawk. Long-range sensors are detecting 3 massive entities. Each one is approximately the size of a small moon. Through the research station's enhanced sensors, Maya could see the Devourers clearly for the first time. They weren't ships in any conventional sense. They were living constructs of dark matter and energy that shifted between multiple dimensional states. Their forms constantly rippled and changed, making precise targeting impossible. They're beautiful, Maya whispered, genuinely awed by the alien constructs, and absolutely terrifying. The Devourers moved through space without any visible propulsion, manipulating gravitational fields to accelerate and maneuver. As they approached, Maya detected scanning beams probing the system's defenses. The entities were analyzing everything: ship positions, energy signatures, communication patterns. They're studying us, Maya announced. Right now they're cataloging our capabilities and predicting our tactical responses. In approximately 43 minutes, they'll have enough data to begin systematic elimination of all human forces in this system. Captain Vasquez joined Maya at the tactical display. So what's our play? Maya smiled, her expression combining ancient wisdom with human mischief. We're going to give them exactly what they expect to see, while doing something completely different. She activated the research station's communication arrays and began broadcasting standard fleet emergency protocols. The transmissions contained conventional distress signals, evacuation orders, and tactical deployment instructions that any competent military force would use when facing overwhelming odds. The Devourers will intercept these communications and factor them into their tactical calculations, Maya explained. They'll expect our forces to group into defensive formations, establish fallback positions, and attempt coordinated resistance. Meanwhile, Maya was secretly implementing a completely different strategy. Using quantum encrypted channels that the Devourers couldn't detect, she began coordinating with scattered human vessels throughout the system. Instead of massing for defense, these ships would disperse into seemingly random positions. Each ship will operate independently using the chaos protocols I'm transmitting, Maya continued. No coordinated tactics, no logical formation flying, no predictable weapon patterns. Every captain will make decisions based on their own instincts, rather than following standard military doctrine. Lieutenant Commander Ridge looked skeptical. That sounds like a recipe for disaster. How do we coordinate attacks without coordination? We don't coordinate, Maya replied. That's the point. The Devourers excel at predicting coordinated responses, but they've never faced opponents who deliberately refuse to work together in logical ways. The first Devourer was now close enough for detailed scanning. Maya could see its surface rippling with energy patterns that suggested massive computational power. The entity was processing thousands of variables per second, building tactical models of expected human behavior. Dr. Meridian, initiate random acceleration sequence, Maya ordered. Make our movement pattern as chaotic as possible. The research station lurched suddenly as its modified drive systems engaged. Instead of smooth acceleration, the facility began moving in erratic bursts that seemed to violate physics. The Devourer's scanning beams immediately intensified, trying to understand the irrational movement pattern. They're confused, Maya observed with satisfaction. Their predictive models can't account for deliberately inefficient propulsion. On the tactical display, Maya watched scattered human ships throughout the system begin implementing her chaos protocols. Instead of forming battle lines, vessels were moving in random directions. Instead of conserving ammunition, they were firing at empty space. Instead of seeking optimal positions, they were deliberately placing themselves in disadvantageous locations. To any rational observer, the human forces appeared to be panicking. But Maya could see the underlying pattern, a coordinated lack of coordination that would be impossible for the Devourers to predict or counter. First contact in 30 seconds, Dr. Webb reported. The lead Devourer is targeting the research station. Maya felt the weight of command settling on her shoulders. Everything depended on her ability to think both logically and irrationally at the same time, using the archive's knowledge while maintaining her essential human unpredictability. All ships, begin random assault pattern, Maya broadcast on the chaos frequency. Remember, if it makes tactical sense, don't do it. The lead Devourer opened fire with weapons that bent space itself, creating gravitational distortions that should have torn the research station apart. But Maya had anticipated this, positioning the facility in a location where the entity's own gravitational manipulation would interfere with its weapon targeting. Return fire, Maya ordered. Target the empty space 17 degrees off their port side. That's nowhere near the target, Ridge protested. Trust me, Maya replied, her enhanced awareness seeing possibilities that weren't immediately obvious. The research station's weapons fired at the seemingly empty coordinates Maya had specified. The energy beam struck nothing but space, until the Devourer suddenly shifted position, moving directly into the path of the attack. The entity had maneuvered according to its predictive calculations, not realizing that Maya had calculated its predictions. Direct hit, Dr. Webb announced with amazement. How did you know it would move there? Because I thought like them while acting like us, Maya explained. The archive showed me how they calculate movement patterns, so I fired where their logic said they should go, not where they actually were. The battle was just beginning, but Maya had already demonstrated something unprecedented. Humans could fight the Devourers by embracing tactical chaos while maintaining strategic intelligence. All units, Maya broadcast across the system. Welcome to the most illogical war in galactic history. Let's show these ancient entities what human creativity really looks like. The battle erupted across the star system as human vessels engaged in the most unconventional warfare in galactic history. Maya watched through the research station's sensors as scattered ships implemented her chaos protocols with enthusiastic creativity. Captain Morris of the cargo hauler Dancing Bear was firing mining lasers in seemingly random directions while performing barrel rolls that no sane pilot would attempt. The Devourer pursuing him kept adjusting its position to intercept where logic said the ship should go, only to find empty space as Morris followed his instincts rather than training. The Devourers are recalculating constantly, Maya observed, her enhanced consciousness processing multiple tactical streams simultaneously. Their collective intelligence is trying to find patterns in our chaos, but human irrationality doesn't follow any mathematical model. Lieutenant Commander Ridge was coordinating the research station's defensive systems, though coordination was perhaps the wrong word. Following Maya's instructions, he was firing weapons at random intervals, using targeting solutions that violated every principle of military efficiency. This feels completely wrong, Ridge muttered as he deliberately missed an easy shot on the nearest devourer. Everything I learned at the academy says this should fail. That's exactly why it's working, Maya replied. She could see through the archive's knowledge how every previous species had failed against the devourers. They had all fought logically, efficiently, predictably. Humanity was the first to fight stupidly on purpose. The second devourer had engaged a group of 3 destroyers near the system's outer asteroid belt. Instead of working together in formation, the ships were attacking independently and seemingly at random. The Relentless would charge directly at the entity, then suddenly veer away to attack empty space. The Stormfront was using its engines in reverse, flying backwards while firing forward. The Night Watch had shut down half its systems and was tumbling end over end while still somehow maintaining accurate fire. The Devourer's collective is sharing tactical data, Maya announced, watching the entity's behavior through her enhanced perception. But the data doesn't make sense because our tactics don't make sense. They're actually becoming less effective as they try to incorporate our behavior into their predictive models. Dr. Meridian approached the command station where Maya was coordinating the impossible battle. The archive is showing increased confusion patterns from the Devourer's quantum signatures. They're devoting more processing power to understanding our tactics than to actually fighting. Maya nodded, feeling a surge of satisfaction. The plan was working better than she had hoped. By forcing the Devourers to analyze irrational behavior, humanity was turning the entity's greatest strength, their analytical capabilities, into a weakness. All ships prepare for escalation pattern 7, Maya broadcast. Remember, if you think you understand what you're supposed to do, you're probably wrong. Escalation pattern 7 was Maya's most audacious tactical concept yet. Instead of concentrating forces against individual devourers, human ships would randomly switch targets mid-engagement. Vessels would break off from winning battles to assist in losing ones, then abandon those fights to attack entirely different targets. Captain Vasquez shook her head in amazement as she watched the tactical display. Chen, by every rule of warfare, this should be a disaster. We're violating basic principles of concentration of force, target priority, and tactical coherence. And that's exactly why it's working, Maya smiled. The Devourers have fought countless species over millions of years. Every one of them followed logical military doctrines. We're the first opponents they've faced who deliberately fight like amateurs. The third Devourer, the largest of the 3 entities, had been holding back from the main engagement, apparently analyzing the chaotic battle patterns. Now it began to move, accelerating toward the research station with obvious intent to eliminate Maya's command center. Here comes the big one, Dr. Webb reported from the Shadowhawk. It's heading straight for us and it's not being subtle about it. Maya studied the approaching entity through her enhanced sensors. This Devourer was different from the others, older, more experienced with quantum signatures that suggested vast computational power. It had apparently decided that direct action was preferable to trying to understand human irrationality. Dr. Meridian, prepare the station for emergency maneuvers, Maya ordered. We're going to do something that will either save humanity or get us all killed. What did you have in mind? Captain Vasquez asked. Maya's consciousness was now processing tactical possibilities at superhuman speed, while maintaining her essential human creativity. The approaching Devourer expected them to either flee or attempt a coordinated defense. Instead, Maya was planning something no rational commander would ever consider. We're going to ram it, she announced calmly. The command center fell silent, except for the hum of processing equipment. Even Dr. Meridian, with his archive-enhanced understanding, looked shocked. Chen, Captain Vasquez said slowly. That thing is the size of a small moon. The research station would be completely destroyed. Not if we do it right, Maya replied. The archive contains technical data about the Devourer's quantum phase properties. They can shift between dimensions to avoid physical impacts, but that process requires precise calculations. If we approach them in a way that makes those calculations impossible. Maya was already implementing her plan, using the research station's modified systems to plot an approach vector that defied physics. The facility would accelerate toward the Devourer using quantum drives that operated in deliberately unstable patterns. creating a trajectory that couldn't be mathematically predicted. All human vessels converge on the research station, Maya broadcast. We're going to show the Devourers what happens when an immovable object meets an irresistible force that doesn't make sense. Ships throughout the system began responding to Maya's call, abandoning their individual engagements to join what appeared to be a suicidal charge against the largest Devourer. But Maya wasn't planning suicide. She was planning the most illogical victory in galactic history. The Devourer is trying to calculate our approach vector, Dr. Meridian reported. But our quantum field fluctuations are generating too many variables for precise prediction. Maya could see the entity's confusion through her enhanced perception. The Devourer was attempting to phase shift to avoid collision, but it couldn't determine exactly when or where to shift because the research station's approach was mathematically impossible to model. All ships prepare for impact in 30 seconds, Maya announced. Remember, we're not trying to destroy it. We're trying to confuse it into destroying itself. The massive Devourer began its phase shift sequence, preparing to become intangible just before the moment of impact. But Maya had timed her approach to coincide with a quantum field fluctuation that would disrupt the entity's dimensional calculations. Impact in 10 seconds, Dr. Meridian called out. 9, 8, 7. Maya felt the weight of humanity's future, resting on her ability to think both logically and irrationally at the same time. Everything depended on perfect timing and imperfect strategy. 3, 2, 1. The research station struck the Devourer at the exact moment when the entity was caught between dimensional phases. Instead of passing harmlessly through each other, the collision created a quantum resonance cascade that tore through the Devourer's quantum matrix. For the first time in millions of years, one of the ancient entities had been destroyed not by superior firepower, but by superior unpredictability. Target eliminated, Dr. Webb announced with amazement. The Devourer's quantum signature has completely dispersed. Maya smiled as she watched the remaining 2 Devourers suddenly accelerate away from the system. Their collective intelligence had finally reached a conclusion about humanity. These chaotic, irrational beings were too dangerous to fight. All ships, stand down from attack, Maya broadcast. The Devourers are retreating. We've won the most impossible victory in human history. 3 months after the Battle of the Outer System, Maya stood before a gathering of the Galactic Defense Council aboard the orbital platform above Earth. Representatives from 12 allied species sat in careful formation, their translators working overtime to process her words. Maya no longer resembled the quiet cadet who had sat silently in xenobiology class. The interface with the archive had left its mark. Her eyes held depths of ancient knowledge, but her voice carried distinctly human authority. She wore the insignia of Admiral, a rank unprecedented for someone not yet 18 years old. The Devourers have retreated beyond our sensor range, Maya reported to the assembled delegates. Our intelligence suggests they're regrouping in the void between galaxies, presumably sharing information about human tactical capabilities. Ambassador Zekthis of the Zephyrian Confederation leaned forward with obvious interest. His species had been fighting a losing war against Devourer scouts for decades. Admiral Chen, your tactical reports describe strategies that violate fundamental principles of military science. How did your species develop such unconventional approaches? Maya smiled, remembering her silent years at the Academy. We didn't develop them, Ambassador. Chaos is humanity's natural state. We just learned to weaponize our own unpredictability. The crystalline representative, whose species communicated through harmonic frequencies, chimed a question that the translator rendered as curiosity about replicating human tactical methods. That's the problem, Maya explained. Our tactics work precisely because they emerge from human psychology. Other species think logically, efficiently, predictably. Humans think differently. Captain Vasquez, now promoted to Commodore, stood beside Maya as her tactical advisor. The bond forged during that desperate battle had evolved into a partnership that combined human intuition with enhanced strategic knowledge. The archive contains tactical data from civilizations spanning millions of years, Commodore Vasquez added. Every one of them fell to the Devourers because they fought rationally. Humanity survived because we fought irrationally. Dr. Meridian had become director of the new Hybrid Intelligence Initiative, working to understand how human consciousness could interface with alien knowledge systems while maintaining essential unpredictability. His research team now included volunteers from multiple species, though none had achieved the synthesis that Maya represented. Admiral Chen, the hegemony delegate, spoke through its mechanical translator. Our tactical analysts have studied your battle recordings extensively. We cannot understand how deliberately inefficient strategies produced victory against superior forces. Maya accessed the archive's vast databases while formulating her response in purely human terms. The combination gave her insights that no single intelligence could achieve. Efficiency is predictable, she replied. The Devourers had encountered countless efficient civilizations. They had developed counters for every logical tactical approach, but they had never faced opponents who deliberately chose inefficiency as a strategy. Through the orbital platform's massive windows, Maya could see ships from the Allied fleet conducting joint training exercises. Human vessels moved in chaotic patterns while alien ships attempted to adapt their own tactical doctrines. The results were mixed. Some species showed promising flexibility, while others remained trapped by their logical programming. The Terran Defense Force is prepared to share our tactical innovations, Maya announced, but I must emphasize that these methods cannot simply be copied. They must emerge organically from each species' unique psychology. The Andromedan representative, a being of pure energy contained within a crystalline matrix, projected concerns about abandoning proven military doctrines in favor of seemingly random tactics. With respect, Maya replied, your proven doctrines failed against the Devourers. Logic and efficiency are powerful tools, but they become weaknesses when facing opponents who can predict logical responses. Maya thought about the research station, now converted into a mobile command platform that served as headquarters for the new Chaos fleet. The facility had become a symbol of humanity's unexpected role as galactic defenders, not through superior technology or overwhelming force, but through sheer unpredictability. The Devourers will return, Maya continued. They're adapting to our tactics just as they adapted to every previous opponent. But humanity has one advantage that no other species possessed. We're constantly changing our own methods. Admiral Harrison attended the meeting via holographic projection, her weathered face showing pride in the cadet she had personally selected for the deep space research station mission. Admiral, Chen has established the unpredictability protocol, Admiral Harrison announced. Human tactical doctrines will now be deliberately modified every 6 months to prevent the Devourers from developing effective counters. Maya nodded. Though she knew the real challenge wasn't developing new tactics, it was maintaining humanity's essential chaotic nature while growing as a spacefaring civilization. Too much organization and efficiency would make humans predictable. Too little would make them ineffective. There's something else, Maya said, her voice carrying the weight of the archive's ancient knowledge. The Devourers aren't the only threat in the universe. The archive contains references to other entities, other challenges that will require different approaches. The assembled delegates shifted uncomfortably. They had barely begun to understand humanity's tactical innovations, and now they were being told about additional threats. But that's a problem for another day. Maya smiled. Today we celebrate the fact that unpredictability defeated inevitability. Logic lost to chaos, and the most ancient threat in the galaxy learned to fear a species that had barely left its homeworld. After the formal meeting, Maya found herself alone in the observation deck, looking out at the stars. The archive's knowledge let her see vast patterns across space and time, but her human perspective reminded her that every star represented possibilities that couldn't be predicted or calculated. Captain Torres approached, the same grizzled instructor who had watched her train in the combat simulators. Never thought the quiet kid from the back of the class would end up commanding fleets, Admiral. Maya laughed, remembering her silent years at the academy. I was never quiet, Captain. I was just waiting for the right moment to speak. And when you finally spoke, the whole galaxy listened, Torres observed. Maya accessed her enhanced memories of the battle, seeing it from multiple perspectives simultaneously. Human ships moving in impossible patterns, alien entities confused by tactical chaos, and in the center of it all, a species that had turned its greatest weakness into its greatest strength. The Academy taught me tactics and strategy, Maya reflected. But it took an alien archive to teach me that sometimes the best strategy is to have no strategy at all. Through the observation deck's windows, Maya watched the Chaos Fleet conducting exercises, human vessels working alongside alien ships in formations that defied conventional military science. Each ship moved according to its crew's instincts rather than predetermined patterns, creating a fluid, unpredictable force that could adapt to any threat. "Admiral," Commodore Vasquez's voice came through the communication system. "We're receiving reports from deep space monitoring stations. Something's approaching from the direction of the Magellanic Clouds." Maya's enhanced consciousness immediately accessed the archive's databases, searching for references to threats from that region of space. What she found made her smile with anticipation rather than fear. "Looks like we're about to have another opportunity to demonstrate human unpredictability," Maya announced. "All ships prepare for chaos protocols. Let's show the universe what happens when the impossible meets the improbable." As alarms sounded throughout the fleet, Maya felt the familiar surge of tactical awareness that came from thinking both logically and irrationally at the same time. Humanity had found its place in the galaxy not as the strongest or smartest species, but as the most beautifully, chaotically unpredictable. The girl who had never spoken in school had become the voice of human resistance, proving that sometimes the greatest strength comes not from following the rules, but from rewriting them entirely. In the depths of space, ancient threats stirred and calculated, trying to understand these strange new beings who fought like children playing games with the fate of civilizations. And in their confusion, humanity found its greatest weapon, the simple, profound power of refusing to make sense.